It's Thursday morning, and it's time for our town here at 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning. You're listening to it on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. My name is Darren Swinson. Our town, as always, brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust. We'll have 6 guests on the program. 4 of them will be connected to the event you can hear right here on the river beginning at 10 a.m. this morning. The Girls State Wrestling Tournament, second annual sanctioned state wrestling tournament here in the state of Iowa for girls. We'll talk to 4 area coaches, including Ethan Adams for Southwind, Crestwood's Jerry Steffen, Dani Bucknell for Waukon, and Gene Adams from Decorah. And those interviews can be heard a little later on in the program. We'll talk to Blake Moen from the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department. But our first guest this morning, Barnelopet, coming up this weekend. And with the current weather conditions, it might look a little different than it usually does. But one person that we always have a good time talking to this time of year is Darlene Fossum-Martin. Darlene will be our first guest talking Barnelopet this morning. This is Our Town. It's brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust, and you're listening to it on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. A yearly conversation we have around this time of year is with Darlene Fossum-Martin. Coming up this weekend will be the Barnelopet race, and it's going to hit a milestone year this year, the 25th anniversary of this race. And Darlene, I know you've been involved with this race for quite a few years. For those that are unfamiliar with it, what is Barnelopet?
Well, Barnelopet is actually a walk. It's called a race, but we're not treating it as a race because it's called Children's Race or Children's Run. We're not calling it a race because everybody's going to finish a winner. It's no competition involved, just a lot of fun. Yeah, and it was modeled after the Barnaburkey up in Telemark, Wisconsin, which was held before the Birkebeiner race. Yeah, it's been around for several years, and it's also held in Norway for a lot of different events as well.
Where will this event take place coming up on Saturday morning, and what time does it begin? What time can people start showing up?
Okay, well, it doesn't look like we're going to have ski. That's why I put on all the posters and advertisements, ski/walk.
Okay.
Because I hate to cancel it because we have lack of snow, because it's such a fun event. Kids really enjoy, families enjoy getting out and getting outside and enjoying the weather. And they're really going to enjoy it this Saturday, which is the Barnelopet event, because we're going to have nice warm weather. We are going to change the course a little bit. It's about a mile course because of the lack of snow. And yesterday when I went out to check it, there were some pretty good sized puddles that maybe disappeared by Saturday. So it will be held no matter what in the same place at the Decorah Prairie. It starts at 10 o'clock. It's for ages 3 to 13. Registration will be at 9:40, 9:45 to 10, around that area. And yeah, families are welcome to partake in this as well and walk along with the kids so that it can be a family event.
And you mentioned you were looking probably pretty good to have this as a ski race about a week and a half ago. But funny how Mother Nature throws you a curveball, isn't it?
It's for sure. And it seems like this weekend, it's always been kind of an iffy weekend, but so have our winters. But usually we've gotten snow like a few days before so we can hold it, but I don't think that's going to happen this year. And who knows, maybe it will. Maybe the Norse gods will snow down on us so we can have some snow. But at this point, there's really no snow at all on the track. It's just ice and some water. And like I say, I'm pretty sure it'll be a walk. Bring your boots in case it's a little muddy, but come out and enjoy it. There'll be hot chocolate and apple juice and sugar cookies. We have special cookies for the 25 years, so everybody can, have some snacks. There'll still be a fire to stand by and enjoy. And kids at the end of the race end of the event, I should say, it's not a race, will receive a Barnelopet medal. And this year we're kind of even handing out different medals from past years as a commemoration of the 25 years.
Well, kind of a neat idea. And how important was it to still have the event, even though the lack of snow will prevent the ski aspect of this event? How important was it to keep this event going and have that sense of community come Saturday morning?
Well, I'm a stubborn Norwegian. I think that's part of it. It's like, no, we're going to have it. Rain or shine, snow or not. But you hate to almost cancel something because it seems like when you cancel an event, it's hard to get it up and running again. And it's not so much about the snow or the rain or the warm weather or cold weather. It is about community. And this is a great town that is so good at sharing community with one another. So I know that it's park and rec, like biddy basketball and all those events that are happening, but it's such a short event that people are usually done by 10:30, 11 o'clock, so they can still get to some of their other activities for the Saturday. But like I say, it's a community event. We can do either or unless it's severely ice or severely cold, then we may cancel it. I think we've only canceled about 3 events in the whole 25 years, and then 4th with the COVID year where we just didn't hold it. But it is important, and it's important for me as the starter of the event and the coordinator throughout this years to keep a part of our Norwegian heritage. And this is being outside in the winter and enjoying the weather is a big part of our Norwegian heritage.
And the thing I like about this event, it's not like something you got to plan a week or 2, 3 weeks in advance and register online like a lot of events nowadays. You can show up about 9:30, quarter 10 Saturday morning, sign up, and away you go. I mean, pretty simple for us Norwegians out here. So.
Exactly. We need simple, right?
Exactly.
Oh, that's so true. And I don't want to forget to mention John and Mary Hart, who were so generous to give us a donation so that we can hold this event free to the public. Without their help and support, like in the beginning years, we charged just a small registration fee to cover the badges or the medals and the posters and such and the bibs. But with their support, now we can make it free to anybody that wants to come if they're 3 to 13. And what was fun one year, I should mention this hasn't, is that we had one fella that came up to me and he said, "You don't remember me, but I was skiing in one of your first events and now I have my kids here doing the event as well." And I thought that was kind of neat. He must have had fun.
Well, obviously it's a longevity and stick-to-itiveness of the people here in this area continuing to enjoy an event like this. Of course, the Decorah Community Prairie is over the levee over by the Asa Haugen home. Where do you suggest people park for this event on Saturday morning?
Well, there's a good parking spot right there. You go up and over the dike, and there is parking area right next to where we're going to be starting. Again, I don't know what it's going to be like, if it's going to be soupy or what it's going to be, but we've had parked there, every year. And if you don't want to go up over the dike, you can just park, right along the road that goes Ohio Street before you go up the dike. There's several people that park there as well.
All right, Darlene, that's what is in my notebook. Am I missing anything? Anything else you want to pass on about Barnelopet coming up this weekend?
Well, we'll have 2 trolls there that'll be visiting everybody and cheering people on. And let's see. I hope I haven't forgotten anything. Friday, February 3rd, registration at 9:30, 9:45.
Saturday, right?
Saturday, yeah, Saturday.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yep, and the event starts at 10 o'clock. We start the older kids first, and then we end off with the younger kids so that they will take their time, walking along the way, as I'm sure we'll be walking, and enjoy cookies and hot chocolate and cider and the fire afterwards. And maybe I should tell everybody to bring a kite. I don't know. It's almost like kite flying weather.
might not be a bad idea. And when you mention trolls that will be there, of course, those who know Norwegian history know the true meaning of troll and not the modern day social media meaning of troll. These are actual trolls, not ones that live in cyberspace.
That's right. Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. Nope, they're the trolls that can be really good if you give them a cookie. We have good trolls at our place. There's some that maybe are a little meaner, but they're all left in Norway. They didn't come over here, so
Oh, that's good. So,
we only have
Darlene,
good trolls.
you bet. Darlene, appreciate the time telling us about this fun community event that happens year after year and be a little bit different this year as compared to last year, but the flexibility and the cooperation of Mother Nature and people's ability to adapt to it, that's a part of being a good Norwegian. Best of luck with the event this Saturday, and we appreciate you taking the time to tell us about it.
Thank you so much, Darren, for having me on here and spreading the word.
Darlene Fossum-Martin from Vesterheim, the Barnelopet coming up this Saturday, 10 a.m. at the Decorah Community Prairie. Having our first conversation of the new year with Mr. Blake Moen from the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department. A few fun things happening this weekend. If you want to learn about fly fishing, Blake, from what I understand, you got the opportunity to be educated this Saturday. Is that correct?
Yeah, you got it, Darren. And well, as always, thanks again for having us on to talk a little bit about what's going on in our department here. But yeah, no, you nailed it, Darren. This weekend, we've got our fly fishing clinic. Fly fishing clinic we've actually done it for many years now. And Parks and Rec, our role with it is to help advertise and put it on, but it's really put on by a couple of organizations that have helped us through the years, bring the equipment, expertise, and whatnot to learn a little bit about fly fishing and about technique and learn a little bit about lures and tying knots and different things like that. Especially in our part of the state, Darren, I think fly fishing, there's people that travel all over that come to Northeast Iowa to do fly fishing. But got to give a huge shout out to Ken Kleckner with Bear Creek Anglers, but also Ken has just been doing this for many, many years. So without him, we wouldn't be able to put it on. But Kent helps us spearhead the program, as well as Iowa Driftless chapter of Trout Unlimited. They've been partnering with us for many years to put this on. It's a great opportunity for community members of all ages, whether you fly fish before, whether you're brand new, whether maybe you've never heard of fly fishing, but you want to learn a little bit. It's a great opportunity to come down and learn some of the fundamentals and basics from those guys there, as well as Winneshiek County Conservation pitches in as well to help us out. So it takes a lot of people to put it on and bring a lot of expertise, but it should be a lot of fun this Saturday.
And when will it be? Where will it be?
Yep. So it's this Saturday, February 3rd, and we will be located at Decorah High School. When you come in the main doors there near the auditorium and gym, come right through there, and we'll be located in the cafeteria, commons area, and then also the gym. So what we will have going on in those locations is we'll be having tables set up for folks to, like I said, learn a little bit about tying knots, learn a little bit about tying their favorite flies as well as knots, as well as just learn a little bit about just fly fishing in general, having some handouts and different things there. In the gym, then we will actually have actual rods that folks can practice and learn a little bit about utilizing a rod and casting properly and demonstrate some of the basic casts and whatnot there as well. So not only that, but then learning a little bit from all the experts that we have sharing their expertise on fly fishing in general.
And what time does this begin Saturday?
Saturday goes from 10 to 12, and it's kind of a come and go as you please program. So we'll be set up from 10 to 12 there. But when you come on in, please feel free. We'll have a sign-in sheet for folks. But I kind of see it a little bit as a showcase opportunity for the folks I mentioned earlier to not only learn a little bit about fly fishing, but in a very relaxed environment. As I said, we're going to have handouts. We'll have those guys from our chapters that will be there to discuss fishing just in general, not just fly fishing. And as I said earlier, Darren, our part of the state is just so popular with people coming up for obviously trout fishing, but so many other utilizing Upper Iowa River and the streams and everything else that makes Northeast Iowa so unique. So it's not just fly fishing, it's just fishing in general. And it's a fun program that we can't put on without these guys.
And then coming up on Sunday, a week from Sunday is Super Sunday, but more importantly, in the short term, we have Superhero Sunday coming up Sunday. Tell us about it.
Yeah, we do, Darren. It'll be a lot of fun on Sunday. So, Superhero Sunday is what's going on Sunday, February 4th. We are set up at Carey Lee Gym and Cafeteria area from 12 to 2. Very similar to our Saturday program. It's a come and go program as you please. But the idea of this program actually started our department about 5-6 years ago, and it gained a lot of publicity. What it is, Darren, is kiddos that maybe have a favorite superhero. Maybe it's Batman, maybe it's Superman. Buzz Lightyear is my son's favorite right now. Any of those. We encourage kiddos that want to come on down to Superhero Sunday dressed as your favorite superhero. And we'll have an array of activities. We'll have some snacks. We'll have some games. We'll also have some arts and crafts tables as well for kids to create their own mask or color pictures of their favorite superheroes as well. As well as one thing that kind of ties the community into it then, Darren, is we tie in some of the what I consider and what our department considers the Decorah superheroes. So our police department, our Winneshiek County Sheriff's Department will be there as well. Some of the firefighter department will be there as well to take pictures with the kids, to not only that, but talk to them a little bit about, what it's like to, be a police officer, a fireman. We will also just have an opportunity for them to participate in those set activities and games as well with the kids. So it's kind of a twofold thing where we want to give kids a fun opportunity to, if they do have a favorite superhero, come dressed and do different activities, but then also get to meet some of the real superheroes in our community and that keep our community safe from everything else.
Who's your favorite superhero?
When I was a kid growing up, I was Batman. I was Batman and Robin kind of guy there. Okay. But nowadays, the Marvel characters are all coming back with the Hulk and Iron Man and Captain America. I mean, those were old school back in the day, but now they're kind of making a comeback. So we're seeing more. What about you, Darren?
Andy Nimrod, personally.
Yeah. Well, he's the only one that can top Superman, right? So,
well, in the Decorah community, definitely the case on that end of things. Obviously, always stuff going on at the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department. What else you got up your sleeve besides big muscles, of course?
Well, so we got a few things coming up here. So we're kind of in transition period of getting through January, obviously, and entering the month of February that has a few different things going on. This weekend, we have our bowling program, as well as we're in the middle of bitty basketball as well. So those programs are off and running and doing well there. Unfortunately, with the weather we've had, Darren, it hasn't been a great ice rink year for us. So we're hoping, maybe the weather will change. We're staying optimistic, but not looking too great on our Mother Nature side of things there. But one thing I do want to let community members know is that coming up on February 15th, that is when our next brochure will come out for rec activities that will cover the spring. So those are all programs that will be going on through March, April, and into May. Some of those programs include some of our classic ones, like our annual track meet, Easter egg hunt, and soccer, as well as a few new ones that we'll be looking up there. So again, that brochure comes out February 15th at 8 a.m. when registration opens. So definitely mark your calendars there to see what we got coming up here in this spring. And we're looking forward to kind of putting together the final pieces there for that.
Anything we're missing? Anything else you want to bring up as long as you got the forum this morning?
Yeah, no, just really appreciate again everyone that's helped out with our winter programs going on. It's been kind of a unique winter, I think, this year with not a lot of opportunities to go outside for cross-country skiing or not a lot of opportunities at the ice rink, as I mentioned, but really do appreciate people still being involved in our after-school programs, being involved in our open gyms that are still running through Sundays. And everything else. And I have to really give a big shout out. Our bitty basketball program is about halfway through here, but huge credit to Chip Pearson, who did pictures on the first day, and all the parent volunteer coaches we have. And bitty basketball alone is probably my favorite program, but this year our numbers increased quite a bit, which is great, but that means we need more coaches. And with 20 teams, we need a lot of coaches and a lot of parent volunteers and a lot of people that really appreciate them stepping up and helping us out and helping our staff put on so far a great bitty basketball season too. So thank you to our volunteers.
All right, Blake, appreciate the time as always, telling us what's going on at the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department. Thanks for all you guys do for the community. Appreciate the time, and I'm sure we will chat soon.
You bet, Darren. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having us on.
Blake Moen from the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department. The Decorah girls wrestling team has qualified 9 wrestlers for this week's state girls wrestling tournament in Coralville. Head coach Gene Adams joining us, and Gene, going back to last Friday in Mason City, super regional championship for your squad, and the girls put you in a position to be pretty busy come Thursday and Friday down in Coralville. What got it done for your team on Friday?
Just chasing that goal. Our goal is to win a state title, and that started last Saturday. And so it was pushing, trying to get everybody to win team titles, and if you happen to drop a match, chasing the best thing that you can get. And so for some of our girls, it was overcoming the heartache and having a short memory and in a sense getting back on the proverbial horse, because there are still, you got to chase team points. Even though there's really nothing tied to last week's regional championship, we got to be thinking ahead, because this week it is. And so if we train ourselves where once we drop, we're done, then that's what we're going to do this weekend. And so it was kind of like a mock run that we got to chase the team race. We got to put distance between ourselves and the other teams, that all matches and all points count. Every point that we can get counts. Every point that we don't give up counts. And I thought our girls really responded well to that.
How do you instill that mentality of really looking at the big picture in such an individualized sport such as wrestling?
For me, I just keep re-emphasizing the fact, because many of these girls are new to the sport, and so they don't really realize how tournaments work, or how maybe big time competition works. And lucky for me, I've experienced it for many years, and so I'm just passing down that wisdom of what it takes to win it as a team. No individual is ever going to win any tournament by themselves, and so you got to rally behind your teammates and pump them up and focus on the positive things that they're doing. And I mean, it's competition. It's not easy when you have a goal on your mind and it doesn't come true. Then there's a lot of tears and heartache, but you also got to remember that there's a brighter side to the picture, and you got to keep fighting.
And I'll go kind of individual qualifier by individual qualifier. Chloe Sheffield, I believe, coming back to state for the second year in a row for her. Discuss her season. What's made it a successful one?
I mean, she's a fighter. She's a spark plug. If you've ever watched her wrestle, she's petite in size, but man, she packs a punch. She's quick. She's strong. She's very well balanced. She's got a strong gymnastic background, and yeah, she's explosive.
And at 115 pounds, a young lady pretty well, Ellie Adams, at 115 pounds, getting to state as a freshman. What got it done for her last week?
Improvement. Just trying to think back where she was at the beginning of the season. She asked me, did you think I could do this at the beginning of the year? And honestly, I said no. Where you were at the beginning of the year, you would not have been a state qualifier. But I said I was confident that there was enough time that you could be. And so she's taken coaching in a positive way. She goes out there and she battles, and good things have come from it. Putting herself in a spot where she was able to qualify for the finals and lock up a spot for state.
And Mackenzie Tollefson back to state for the second year in a row at 135. Discuss Mackenzie's season.
Mackenzie's having a nice solid season. She's right up there. Still learning how to try to refine what her exact style is, but she has a strong record. I mean, she's up at the top, and she's going to be battling for a top spot. I don't know where she's going to land, but she definitely deserves a spot on the podium.
And Amelia Wadsworth, I believe, heading to state for the first time in her career, if I'm not mistaken. She really had a good day last Friday. What was the reason for her success?
We come to sometimes nickname her Old Reliable because she stays in great position. It's hard to shake her out of position, and she's strong. Yep, Saturday was a little new to her as far as having to be through a qualifier, but and maybe she dropped a match one round earlier than what was expected, but she rebounded nicely, did what she had to do, and ended up coming through the backside and getting third.
And that's never an easy thing to do. And then from 45 on up, you kind of hit the hammers row of your lineup. Anastasia Simon at 145 pounds. Title bout didn't go her way, only her second loss of the season. But the record is what it is, and there's a reason the record is what it is, I'd imagine as well, correct?
Yeah. It's no accident. She's a gamer. She's tough. And like all four of those girls that you mentioned, I mean, it'd be like a broken record. First thing they do is they stay in great position. They move well. They're able to force other girls to wrestle to their style, and then they score points, and they score lots of points. And we're getting to the part of the season where we're going to come across tougher and tougher competition, and sometimes you get a little surprised with something, and sometimes you get to have the time to rebound, sometimes you don't.
And Lauren Luzum at 155 pounds, heading back to state. She was a place winner a year ago. What's it going to take for her to get back on the medal stand come Friday night?
Maybe just really 100% confidence that she can. And I'm not saying that she doesn't have confidence, because again, you can look at the record and everything, but she just, just believe that she can do it. And, she's coming in at a good time. And I like her positioning in the bracket. A lot of upside to what she has going on. And Friday night, if we see her in the finals, I will not be surprised.
And then you go to 170. What more can you say about Naomi Simon this season?
No, I don't know that I can say anything new, but maybe something that I haven't said a lot was, one thing that makes Naomi special is the moment never gets too big. And a big moment for her. She knows it's a big moment. She's been in plenty of big moments, and she finds a way to just kind of, internalize it and just one move at a time, right? Just control things. And she's very good at controlling the tempo, making other girls wrestle to her. And she scores on what they give her.
And Cameron Steinis has had a very good season at 190. What's it going to take to make it an even better season this weekend as she returns as a place winner as well?
Yep. And she's in a similar position to a year before, where she's a little bit undersized, but you never know that by the way she wrestles. She's strong. She moves well. Again, she doesn't need to do too much more to improve on her season. She's going to be right up there. I think she's another girl that if she makes the finals, no one's going to be that surprised if she were to win it. I don't think anybody would be surprised. They'd be happy for her, but not real surprised. It'd be a great accomplishment for her. And just her battling what she has had to do the last couple seasons, where last year, I mean, she was closer to being a 55-pounder, and then decided to make that leap because it'd be best for the team. And that's kind of her mentality, and our team's mentality was, yeah, I'll give up that much weight if it means it helps the team. And I know for her, she's going to be doing everything she can to get as high on that podium as she can, because she knows it's going to help the team.
And Madison Lippy, a young kid that's really emerged very nicely at 235. What's been the reason Madison has been so good this season?
The drive, and I would say, unselfishly, she's thinking more about the team. Over and over, we had a little bout of injury, and it was always coming back to, how can I help the team? Does this help the team? And never really thinking about herself. And now I know that she's getting an opportunity to be back in the lineup, and she's taking advantage of it. And she's tough to score on. And for her, a lot of matches end in a fall for her. And so she scores lots of team points, and that's what she's thinking. How many team points can I score for the team?
And you look at the team aspect, of course, last year, your squad finished third at the state meet. And looking back, I believe everyone that qualified for state had won at least one match, if not two matches. And more often than not, it was by bonus points. Is that a sign that that mentality of team first is really kind of carried over, really since this program began?
I think a lot of it's just the aggressiveness in which our girls wrestle. So something that was started to been instilled in them last year, and they're still carrying that torch forward. They get after it. They really grind on their competition, and so things that maybe they don't work in the first period, by the third period they do. And in many cases, we've been in a number of big tournaments against tough teams, and we continually talk about that grind and what it takes, and how important team points are, and how we have to play our role and do our part. We can only control what we are doing on the mat, but what we do on the mat is contagious. And so if we're doing positive things, if we're winning big, then the next person that goes out there wants to follow suit.
And you discussed the grind, and I know you've coached on the boys' side, been a part of boys' tournaments over the years, and at the college level. The grind of a postseason on the boys' side is definitely different than the setup currently on the girls' side. How much of a mental and physical grind was last Friday at the Super Regional?
It's tough because for the first time it was for real. We used every competition as simply a stepping stone to our next competition, things that we can improve on and learn from for the next competition. And last week it was finally there is no other kind of you're looking at state tournament, but if we don't perform here, we don't move on. And so it was taking everything that we had learned and putting that to use. And sometimes throughout the day, it was technical issues we had to, this thing about and work through. Sometimes it was the emotional side of things that we needed to work through. Our girls did a nice job of rebounding where they needed to, responding well to coaching, and rallying behind their teammates. And those are long days, depending on the girls. Some had, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches. Gets to be a long day, and to continue to keep, your mind and body ready, and that constant, just that mental pressure, preparing for that next competitor, and what you need to accomplish for that next match. It's a long day to sustain all that mental mental fortitude.
And what's it going to take to have as good of a tournament as you can this weekend in Coralville?
I really think we just got to keep doing what we're doing. I go back to the late November, early December, when we were competing at the Donnybrook. That was 43 schools, 7 different states. And while it wasn't all the toughest competition in Iowa, those out-of-state teams brought in some really, really heavy hitters. It was a 2-day tournament. It was at the Extreme Center, and we rallied it, and we kind of treated it like a state tournament. Again, that was kind of really the first time we really started emphasizing the importance of team points and battling back. And if you're on the backside, while it might be a disappointment, it's not the end to your season. And you just got to keep taking it one match at a time, striving for whatever your best place. I remember a few girls talking about like, oh, this is the best I can get. And really believing when the coaches said, then that's what you go get. They really took it to heart, and they responded in a good way. We had a number of girls that made their way to the podium, and that's what I see the recipe for anybody who's a state champion this year is you're going to have multiple girls up on the podium. And for us, we're in a position that we're not going to surprise anybody. We're in a position that I think other teams know it's not a given. It's going to be a battle. Like nothing's given to us yet. And it's going to be a real race between us and some of those top teams. It'll be great to see how it all shakes out.
All right, Coach, congrats on a great season to this point. Hopefully it's even greater this weekend with the finish with the state tournament down in Coralville. Appreciate the time. We wish you best of luck.
Thanks, Darren.
Gene Adams, head coach of the Decorah girls wrestling team as they head to the state tournament in Coralville this weekend. The Waukon girls wrestling team has qualified 3 wrestlers for the state tournament this weekend in Coralville. Head coach Dani Bucknell joining us. And Dani, talk about the season as a whole. How much progress did you guys make as a team from when you started in November to right now?
I would say lots of progress, which has been nice to see. A lot of growth from a lot of the upperclassmen and even some of the freshmen coming on board. So that has been really good. I feel like we're wrestling at a pretty high level where we wanted them to be by the end of the year. So we're right where we want to be.
And going back to last Friday, ended up qualifying 3 wrestlers for state out of that super regional. But from those of us on the outside looking in, how much of a physical and a mental grind is an event like last Friday? Because you got to do a lot of wrestling to qualify for state on the girls' side.
Yes, you have to do a lot of wrestling, and some of them were wrestling back to get to that point. So it is a mental grind, and you do have to kind of be ready and prepared. And mats were constantly switching at Mason City on Friday also. So just having them, be aware, like you could be up at any time. These mats might be changing to this other thing. So you do have to be up and warmed up and just ready to go and put the pressure on the girl that's in front of you.
Is there a way to prepare your wrestlers for that other than experiencing it?
Yeah. Not really. We do try to get to as many meets as we can. Obviously they're not as, hyped up as the regional is, but that's really the only way to prepare is just to get into individual meets where they're having to wrestle multiple times and up against multiple different competitions as well. So.
And you did get a regional champion at 100 pounds with Mia Kurth, another very good year for her, returning state place winner at that weight class for the last 2 years. Discuss Mia's season. What makes her so successful?
Her name is Maya. It's okay. It happens at every single meet. I feel like I go to the head table for her more than anyone else. She has really grown. She's been with us. This is her 3rd season. So really looking forward to her seeding at state also. Just her growth. She wrestled a lot over the summer, which helped prepare her for this season. We kind of put her in certain weight brackets over the season to get in against some stiffer competition. And then we've kind of been calling this sort of like her redemption season because there was some people last year that she really wanted to get up against and come back and win against. And she has gotten to face some of those people and ended up with a win in her corner. So.
And with the resume that she brought back going into this season, I know this is sometimes tough to do in such an individualized sport as wrestling, but has she kind of been a team leader for you?
Yes, 100%. She's definitely a team leader. She's kind of out there trying to go the extra mile and put in the time. She's always willing to ask, about certain opponents, what she can do to help. She also takes other people in the room and wrestles with them. Someone who maybe is just kind of starting out or starting to figure some things out, she'll help them through different moves. So.
And McKenna Kurth going to state for the first time. What has made her successful this season?
She is very scrappy. She gets herself into some scramble situations sometimes, but she just has more natural wrestling ability, I guess. And some of those things just aren't coachable, and she has that. So as the year has progressed, she's just really learned a lot more moves and how to get herself out of certain situations and into certain situations. So that's been a really awesome progress to watch.
And Chloe Hemmersbach, I believe, going back to state, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
at 190 pounds. What's made Chloe successful this year?
Chloe is a lot of horsepower, which we love in the room. She also just mentally preparing herself like for wrestling, and we've got to wrestle the entire 3 periods and just, being there for everybody in the room as well. So.
And 3 wrestlers heading down to Coralville this week. What's the week this week of training and practice like before you head down to Coralville, which I assume you'll do on Wednesday?
Yes, we are heading down on Wednesday. We've really kind of been grinding pretty hard. I feel like when you get to this level and you get to state, a lot of your matches are not going to be 30-second matches because everybody who's there has earned the right to be there. So we want to make sure that we are physically prepared to wrestle 6 full minutes. And I mean, we kind of talk about if we can wrestle 6 minutes, a lot of other girls maybe can't or aren't used to that. So we want to be the ones that outlast. So
with Maya and Chloe going back to state in this situation, how much does that previous experience perhaps help going into this weekend?
It does help a lot. So it's nice that we do have an underclassman with them because they can kind of show McKenna the ropes a little bit. It's nice to have already wrestled in the facility and you're already kind of under that spotlight and that pressure. They can just sort of chill a little bit more and not get so much into the hype of it.
And you mentioned you have wrestled in this facility before. And I know the wrestling mat is the wrestling mat, and you measure it any gymnasium, it's going to be the same way. But
Right.
Knowing where to go, knowing where to weigh in, and knowing where the locker rooms are, everything like that, does that just add on to a little bit more of a comfort factor? And knowing the fact that going into a gymnasium you don't know, that can add to a little bit of stress, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. We do try to wrestle in the facilities, even where regionals was. We had a meet previously in Mason City the week before so that we knew where to go. I mean, I think everybody kind of gets a little more anxious when you're looking for, oh, where are the bathrooms even? Where are the locker rooms? I don't know where I'm supposed to set my things. And this year we did wrestle down in the Donnybrook, which is also an extreme arena. So they're all prepared. They know where those things are and they can just relax a little bit more and not be so stressed out about the physical aspect of being in the arena.
And what's going to take to have as much success as possible this weekend?
Well, I guess just preparation. I know their mindsets are good coming into this. Preparation and just actually really good sleep. Nutrition needs to be where it needs to be for them to make weight and that kind of stuff. But I think we're sitting in a good spot to get 3 people on the podium this year. So
all right,
looking forward to it.
All right. Hopefully that's exactly what happens come Friday night, Coach. Congrats on getting 3 wrestlers to state, and hopefully they can keep climbing the ladder come Thursday and Friday. We wish you best of luck.
Thank you.
Dani Bucknell, head coach of the Waukon girls, 3 wrestlers at the state tournament this weekend. The Crestwood girls will have 3 wrestlers at the state girls wrestling tournament over the weekend in Coralville, technically Thursday and Friday. Jerry Steffen joining us to talk about the Crestwood girls season. And Coach, before we talk about your specific wrestlers still alive at state this weekend, as a whole, how much improvement did you do as a team from November through last Friday?
Well, it's as far as our whole team, we've had individual improvement. If you just take a look at our girls from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, it's hard for me to see it. But when I have parents talking to me and saying, hey, your girls are showing great improvement. You have girls that had a hard time winning a match at the beginning of the year, and then now here they are doing moves, different takedowns, different turns, different ways to get out. It's exciting to hear that. It's hard to see that progression when you see them every day. But when you have people from the outside looking in and seeing that, then it means a lot and you feel like you're making progress. We've about half of our team actually has only wrestled about a year. And so when we see their progress, that feels really good, especially when you see their hand get raised.
And last Friday, with the way the regional setup is set up in girls wrestling, it was going to be a grind of a day, and it ended up being even more of a grind of a day as your three qualifiers all had wrestleback matches to qualify for state. You kept people around till the bitter end, but the results in that last round were pretty good for you guys.
Yeah, and one of our girls, Rose, I think she was one of the last matches. When you see them rolling up the mats and getting them start putting them away, and we're still wrestling, you know you're in a dogfight to get to that state tournament. And Rose was able to, and that's tough when you lose a third place match, and then you know that you're going to be wrestling somebody that just won a fifth place match. You got to be ready to go, and Rose did it. She won the wrestleback. Actually, Kara and Cheyenne both lost their third place matches, and they had to battle someone who just came off of a win. So that's that adversity we talk about in wrestling, and when you can do that, when you can battle back like that and win that wrestle back, that's a good thing to go into the state tournament. So it was a grind. We had girls wrestling 5-6 matches. We were getting banged up here and there, but overall we had a great day. We finished 6th place as a team. So for a team effort, I couldn't be more proud of the girls and how they stepped up.
And that's 6th place out of 24 teams, because sometimes in wrestling vernacular, you think of maybe 6 places out of 8 teams or 10 teams. That's 6 out of 24. That's definitely well above the curve.
And, that's been something for us, is just our something we've stressed all year, is just team effort. And we've had girls make sacrifices. We've had girls that were wrestling up a weight or two from where their natural weight is, just to help our dual team. We had a couple girls wrestling at the regional that were giving up 8 to 10 pounds. They never took their growth allowance just so they could weigh in just above that weight so they could wrestle up. And for them to go out and get wins, not quite get to the state tournament, but to get wins, and then knowing that they're coming back next year with freshmen and a couple of sophomores that didn't quite get there, but they're pumped up about next year and ready to go. So we just got to get them doing some off-season things, and then they'll be fired up for next year.
And let's talk about your individuals that'll be wrestling in Coralville this weekend. Start with Kara Kennedy at 105 pounds. What's made it a successful season for her?
Well, one thing is just looking at stats. I don't look at them a lot, but she is leading the team in takedowns. She's at 48. So if she gets on her offense down at the state tournament on her feet, she could get to that podium. This is her first trip. Last year, she just barely didn't make it, ended up just out of the placing to go to state. But on her feet, if she can get moving on her feet, get her hands and feet moving, get to her offense, she could open some eyes, turn some heads at the state tournament.
And Cheyenne Bullerman, you at 120 pounds. She's been a very solid kid for you, made state a year ago. What's allowed her to make that return trip to Coralville?
Just grinding. She went to the IWCOA state twice. She's got that experience. She made it to state tournament last year. So being in that atmosphere at regional, even though she had a wrestle back, that she had confidence. She's a senior. She's been in that atmosphere before. So the pressure, she was able to handle the pressure and able to come through and get herself a win in that wrestle back so she can get down to the state tournament again. She's got high goals. She wants to be on the podium. Right now, she's, as far as Crestwood girls wrestling history, she does have the most career wins. She's at 94 right now. So she's got that accolade that she'll be able to take with her when she graduates.
And you touched on Rose having to win one of the last wrestlebacks in Mason City last Friday. What's made it a successful season for her?
Well, just finding her moves on the feet. these last couple weeks, she's been able to put together a few different moves, couple big moves, but your simple moves on the feet just to get to that takedown. And then once she gets on top, she's pretty tough on top. So looking forward to see what she can do down at state. She's got the potential. All three of them had the potential. We just got to make a run. We got to get the ball rolling, get that first win, get the first points, find the first takedown, and then start building a lead on our opponents. Take it one match at a time. Can't overlook anyone. We got to be ready for surprises, which we already have. They just put out new brackets, and Cheyenne did find herself. She's got a different first round match. So you just got to be ready to go. You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable, so they say. So we're ready for it. We're excited. We're ready to go. We'll be heading down tomorrow afternoon, and we'll be hoping to get a warm-up practice in tomorrow evening down there, get used to that atmosphere, and be ready to roll on Thursday morning.
And you mentioned you need to be ready for surprises, but that also works in a positive way because you can be the ones to create a few surprises too, right?
That's right. Seeding, it doesn't matter who you've got. I mean, you got to beat them all. And whoever's across that line from you on the other side, you just got to be ready to wrestle 6 hard minutes. And, the only game plan is to go out, wrestle hard for 6 minutes. We don't have to try to think of something fancy to do. We just got to wrestle our style, our way, put them on the defense and get after it. And then good things will happen.
How are you handling this week between the regional and the state meet from a practice and a preparation and a getting ready standpoint?
Well, we're focusing on our strengths. Pick your 2 or 3 best moves on the feet, and get those ready to go. Same thing on top, same thing on the bottom. We're not spending lots of time concerned about what our opponents might do. We want to be ready for what we're going to do. And like I said with the seeding, I've been telling the girls the worst seed to be in is the person you're wrestling. They're in the worst spot. We got to have that confidence in our mind that we're not afraid to wrestle anyone, and we're going to give it everything we got. We're going to be stingy with the points we give up, and we're going to battle in every position.
And I have heard it said that seeding is important for the tournament, but
Right.
When it comes down to an individual match, it's just you against another individual, and the seeds really don't matter. Do you agree with that assessment?
I agree with that assessment. It's going to put you in a certain position in that bracket, but you still got to beat everyone, right? If you're going to be the champion, you got to beat them. And I've seen brackets where someone's sitting in what they would consider a poor position and ended up coming out on top. So it is what it is. You just got to be ready to wrestle.
And what's it going to take to have as successful of a Thursday and Friday as possible this week?
Excuse me on that one.
What is it going to take to have as successful of a Thursday and Friday as possible this week?
Well, we got to be ready. We have to have our pre-match, our warm-up ready. We've got to be thinking right. It's so much of it's mental, right? It's not just physical sport, it's a mental sport, and we have to be ready physically, mentally, and have our warm-up, have our pre-match, what works best for our athletes ready to go. Like I said, we're gonna be getting down there. We're gonna get used to the atmosphere down there, get a practice in tomorrow, later in the day, get a good night's sleep, ready to go, eat right, sleep right, be ready to go mentally.
All right, Jerry, we appreciate you taking some time. Congratulations on getting these 3 wrestlers to state, and hopefully there's podium spots for them come Friday night. We wish best of luck.
All right. Thank you for everything you do.
Jerry Steffen, head coach of the Crestwood girls, 3 wrestlers heading to Decorahville on Thursday and Friday. The Southwind Warrior girls wrestling team will have 2 wrestlers competing in Coralville this weekend at the girls state tournament. Head coach Ethan Adams joining us. And Ethan, you got Caden Meyer and Maddie Jansen through last Friday. Before we get into the specifics of their performance, just that super regional in Mason City, you've been involved in wrestling on the boys' side for many years before taking over on the girls' side at Southwind. How much of a physical and a mental grind is that super regional?
It's a long day. There's a lot going on, and I think the girls' union is doing a nice job of gathering information from last year, putting it into this year to make it a little bit better, a little bit more concise. Experience for the ladies, and we were fortunate kind of to fight the weather. We went out early, and so we were able to get up a little bit less early, get in from the hotel in Mason City and compete. I think it's just with 5-6 matches, 4 or 5, 6 matches can be such a long day. And obviously with the guys changed to their district, it's getting similar in 1A and 2A as well. Yeah, I think we were fortunate with our administration letting us go out early to fight the fog and put us in a good position to be competitive that day.
And we're going to break down Caden and Maddie here momentarily, but just collectively as a girls team, how much better did your team get from the start of practice in November to last Friday?
Oh, it's really big. We still had a lot of new wrestlers this year. Last year was obviously significant with everybody, new program, new sport. This year we had, I think, 6 or 7 returners, 6 returners with experience. So that made a big difference. We were able to pull everybody kind of along maybe a little quicker than we were last year. But it's still difficult sometimes to see those steps. Some of your less experienced wrestlers, they might be getting a lot better, but they're still taking those losses or taking those bumps along the way. And so getting committed to that process, I am getting better. I am, seeing these techniques and having little goals in each match made a big difference. And then as far as that, it was really with some of our upper level 3-4 kids. It was how do you weather the peaks and valleys of what becomes a very long wrestling season. There are girls, which for good or bad have 65 plus matches going into the state tournament. You're not often going to stay all up for that whole season. And so just kind of having some girls bounce back late and do a lot of their best wrestling here at the end was fun to see. And I think really a positive thing for those ladies.
And with the young women that were new to the sport of wrestling, how do you go about selling to them that things are moving in the right direction independent of results?
Oh man, if you can give me the answer to that question, I'd love it. I think, you do tell them a lot of the same things and you try to spin it as many different ways as possible so you don't sound like a broken record. But I think it's clear to just try to point out as often as possible when you see those little things and set good goals for each match. Saying, hey, I'm going to go focus on this thing. I'm going to move my feet really well. And, no matter what, then the first question we can ask when we come off the mat is, hey, how'd you feel you moved your feet? I felt like I moved my feet really well. It's like, awesome. Then you set a goal and went out and accomplished it. And, within that, there's going to be the frustrations of, I still took a loss. And how do you then tomorrow at practice, let's attack that thing that resulted in that loss or one of those things that maybe, compounded to contribute to that. And so, yeah, that's kind of the $1 million question is how do you keep people bought in when they're taking those negatives? But it's just trying to be as committed to the process as possible, saying, hey, we're going to go out and we're going to get better. And I can't control how good that girl across from me is. And so if I'm getting better, then it's positive, and I've got to believe that and move forward.
And we'll talk about the 2 that you qualified for state, both Caden and Maddie going back to Coralville after qualifying a year ago. Let's start with Maddie's story because her story, a pretty impressive one based on what you told me last Friday.
Yeah, we were obviously able to catch up on the way out the door, and I was still pretty fired up.
Yes, I can confirm that for the record.
Yeah, it's kind of what does he say in the Hulk? That's my secret, Captain. I'm always a little change. I'm always fired up. Yeah, so Maddie at 135 was a little banged up there the last couple of weeks, really the last week prior to regionals, and it was kind of touch and go if we thought she was going to be able to compete. I might have even lost some money if you had bet me a couple of days beforehand if she was going to be able to. So we were fortunate. Appreciate her work with our trainer Heather and WinMed to get her going and everything as well. Get her taped up. I just think a lot of people kind of don't realize how hard it is maybe to wrestle without one hand. And I shouldn't say without, because I don't want to discredit anything she did that day. But it was just a very gutsy performance. I think she was able to wrestle pretty close to not her ceiling maybe, but what she had that day. Maybe she was at whatever percentage, she gave 100% of that, and beat some really quality wrestlers from some quality programs along the way. I think just, to your last question about how do you get people bought into being process minded and how do you handle adversity, is right. This sport is kind of hugely adversity based. There's a lot of adversity, and her ability to, I think, look coaches in the eye, and I've had the privilege to work with her on the track as well, and kind of look at her coaching staff and say, yep. And you believe that she believes you. And that's pretty big. And that's pretty fun is seeing a kid just genuinely be bought in. And I think that's where kids can start to jump levels. And I think where we can maybe move the needle with athletics back in the direction I think a lot of people would say they want it to go, is getting these kids to value those right things. And that's believing in themselves, their coaching staffs in that process, to where we are getting the right things out of athletics, which is becoming better, adults and kids like that. So.
And Caden Meyer, what's made it a successful season for her?
Similar in the adversity thing. Her record obviously is pretty good, but the thing that she would tell you is that she wants about 4 of those matches back pretty hard, if not more. A lot of that came in the last 3 weeks. And so the thing with Caden that was really awesome was it was the kind of the culmination or exclamation point. I kind of put that in my message to the newspapers, was she was a nice exclamation point on that day. For her, it was a different kind of ending though. Like, it was 2 weeks of really trying to build back some self-confidence and get some of those. And it was wins and losses based, but I think how she was wrestling was frustrating her. I think she would tell you that. But man, just getting her on the right track started a couple weeks ago with some duels that we were able to pick up and getting some more good wrestling under her hands and feet. And then that's a girl that we had lost to earlier in the year. We were winning that match and wound up getting put in a big move and losing that. And so I think we believed we were better, but for her, that was just like the final stamp on I'm headed in the right direction. I'm going to Coralville wrestling my best, and flipping a couple results late in the season was a big part of that. So she was another good example of what we're talking about, of being bought in, because we had some hard conversations about what we wanted to get out of the end of the season and why we wanted, why she wanted those things and what they all meant. And kudos to her for being open to those kind of tough conversations about, we're taking bumps. How do we climb back out of this hole?
And you bring up a very interesting point. It's easy to have the conversation of what you want to get out of a season. The why you want to get it is a different conversation. How are those different?
Well, I think, this is probably a conversation for a whole hour-long podcast or something, but I try with our coaching staff, and I think Coach Ellsburn on the guy's side, and we kind of keep our programs pretty close. We try to have what the athlete wants in mind as much as possible. I think that's important. We have some just in these 2 girls, really great and supportive families. And we have lots of conversations about, what they want and why. And I think that these kids are all fairly intrinsically motivated. I think when you start to get into some trouble, and not necessarily with these 2 athletes, is when we get extrinsically motivated, like those things. And these are conversations that these 2 girls and I have had, is what, why are we doing this? And I think you just try to preach those things from day one. You get into the kind of awkward conversations about being adults and parents and workers and, coworkers and things like that, and what you're trying to get out of the sport and why. And, you just hope that they catch some of it, because obviously, they're young and they're learning their own way. And so I think if you can get them to understand why it is they're doing something and why they should value it, they'll impress you probably more often than not. I think, we're pretty fortunate, at least with our girls.
And Caden and Maddie both were at state a year ago. They returned to state this year. How much is that previous experience? How much do you think that will help them going to the big stage once again?
I think it can only help. There's obviously going to be a lot of girls that were there. There was a pretty young state tournament last year with it being a new sport. You didn't pick up a ton of juniors and seniors right out of the gate, but you picked up some freshmen and sophomores. And Maddie was a good example of that last year. Caden, a little bit of a different example of kind of the journey woman along the way, put in her time, and now it's sanctioned. But we actually already talked. We met yesterday and went through some of the itinerary for the week, and that was what they both kind of mentioned was, hey, this is what we kind of did last year that maybe we want to tweak or do differently so that we're better prepared. Just kind of after weigh-ins, we want to make sure we do this, get back to the hotel, blah, blah, blah. I think more than anything, similar to what I mentioned with regionals, just being comfortable and ready to compete. That's the goal. Is you try to take it, first point, next point, last point, one match at a time. And with having some experience with these two young women, they're going to maybe find that a little bit easier to get to instead of being distracted by some lights and sounds and things like that.
In the practice and the preparation and the getting ready for state this week, what's going to be the main focus with these two as you get ready to wrestle on Thursday?
So obviously long day Friday, took a break Saturday, getting together some grocery stuff and things like that for the week. 3 practices, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yesterday was kind of the conversation piece of, hey, here's what we can improve on, because it's a pretty short amount of time. Here's what we want to be focused on as far as what we're doing, maybe a couple small things that we can be aware of. You don't want to get too bogged down in what other people are doing or your opponents. But so yesterday was a lot of implementation of technique. Shout out to Abby Wagner, who's our 130 pounder, who's their practice partner. Perfect attendance. She's there every single day, shows up. So she was there kind of getting asked to do a lot of things and be in a lot of positions yesterday. And then today is going to be, hard drill, those things, nothing new. And then Wednesday's taper, focus, get comfortable, compete Thursday, Friday.
And what's it going to take to have as much success as possible come Thursday and Friday in Coralville?
Win matches. I think showing up focused on the right things, match to match. Seeds are important to a tournament. They're not important to a wrestling match. You got to try to ignore that and show up and compete to the best of your ability. Like I said, how are we moving our feet, how are we moving our hands, scoring with a purpose from every position, trying to score that first point, the next point, last point, and so on. I know it's kind of coach speaky, but obviously if we can be confident in ourselves, I think we can be in all of the matches that we wrestle. Down there, like you said, there's a lot going on. It can sometimes get easy in the middle of a match to almost maybe forget, get caught up, and then all of a sudden you get yourself in a bad way. These girls are all pretty talented. You don't want to let a match get ended early that you maybe would have had a shot in the third period. So staying off our back, staying in a good position, and just being prepared to wrestle in all 3 spots.
Ethan, thanks for the time. Congrats on a great season to this point. Hopefully it becomes even greater, and Caden and Maddie can climb the ladder as high as possible come Friday night. We wish you best of luck.
Excellent. Thank you, Darren. I appreciate all you keep doing for these local sports and athletes.
Ethan Adams, Southwind Girls Wrestling, 2 wrestlers going to be in Coralville Thursday and Friday. A big manga tuck to our guest on the program this morning, Darlene Fossum-Martin. Barnelopet coming up this weekend at the Decorah Community Prairie, Saturday morning at 10 a.m. I want to thank Blake Moen from the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department. Fly Fishing Clinic coming up on Saturday. Superhero Sunday coming up on Sunday. All sorts of fun events always going on at the Decorah Parks and Recreation Department. Want to thank also our 4 guests that will be coaching this weekend at the Girls State Wrestling Tournament. In fact, our coverage for the Girls State Tournament will begin within the hour at 10 a.m. right here at 94.9 and 99.1 The River. First session today will be 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. And the second session tonight, 6 p.m. until 9 p.m. I will be flying solo today. Dave Anderson will join me tomorrow for the Championship Friday coverage at the Girls State Wrestling Tournament. And that will be live here on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. Thanks to the coaches for taking the time. Gene Adams from Decorah, Dani Bucknell from Waukon. Also, let's see, who did I talk to? Jerry Steffen from Crestwood, and the never unforgettable Ethan Adams from Southwind. We wish those coaches and most importantly, the student athletes, best of luck at the Girls State Wrestling Tournament this weekend. Don't forget, we put these shows on YouTube. We realize you're busy. Can't always be near the radio or the smart speaker at 9 a.m. on a Thursday morning, but we get to talk to interesting people. We talked to 6 of them this morning, and we want to bring these conversations to you when it's convenient in your schedule. Go to 2-1 Our Town program on YouTube. That's a great way to search. And we also put these links up on our Facebook page as well of all of our LA communications, our radio stations, as we do our best to stay in touch with you, our local community. Want to thank our guest, want to thank our sponsor, Decorah Bank and Trust, and most importantly, we thank you. That's right, you, for tuning in, for logging on, or for watching our town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River.